Good morning, everyone. My name is Pamela Dapito. I'm the second reporter, and my report is all about is section 3 to 5, and it is all about the rules and regulation that need to be followed by the contractor, workers, mga approval na kailangan, mga premises, signs, and authorizations. So, Section 3, Art 8. Art 8, General. All materials and equipment must conform to all laws nor which may be in force and applicable during the period of construction. The contractor shall bear all damages by reason of any delay in the work arising from his failure to comply with this provision. Where any revisions or amendment to such laws is made during the construction period which affect the cost or time of completion of the contract, a constructive change in the work shall be recognized and a corresponding contract price and completion time adjustment shall be made. Example ani is kunwari na yung mga delayed na materials or equipment na naabot sa construction, then maka-affect sa duration sa paghimo sa building, responsibility na sa contractor. Next, Art 9. Art 9, Equipment. Equipment refers to tangible and durable assets that help in the production of other goods and services. Example of equipment are things like machinery, tools, devices, and etc. Materials, on the other hand, form the base of the product. Equipment has two categories, the quality of the equipment and the equipment substitution. So, quality of equipment. In order to establish standards of quality, the owner, in the detailed specification, may have referred to certain equipment by name and catalog number. This procedure is not to be construed or eliminating from competition other products of equal or better quality by the manufacturers where they are fully suitable in design. So, sa quality of equipment, meron daw procedure na ginasunod. So, each equipment or each quality of equipment has a name and catalog and specification kung saan siya gamitin for the constructing a building. Next is equipment substitution. The contractor shall furnish the complete list of proposed substitution, preferably prior to the signing of the contract, together with such engineering and catalog data as the owner may require. Or request for substitution of equipment shall be in writing. The owner will approve or disapprove the request in writing. No substitute equipment shall be used unless approved in writing by the owner. The contractor shall abide by the owner's judgment as to which proposed substitutes items of equipment are judged to be acceptable. So, sa equipment substitution, if there is no approval or nag-disagree ang owner na mag-substitute og mga equipments, dili dili gid dili gid siya maka dili gid siya dili gid dili gid ninyo maano ang tawag ay dili maano ba kung walay approval sa owner, dili gid mo siya magamit, dili nimo siya ma-use. Dapat aprobado gid siya sa owner. Next is art 10, materials, fixtures, and appliances and fitting furnished by the contractor. Under Section 3R10, there are 8 categories, and each category has a subcategories. So the 8 categories are samples of materials, trade materials, and substitute, testing samples of materials, quality of materials, storage and stockpiling of materials, defecting materials, imported materials, fixtures, equipment, and the owner's approval. So samples of materials. So sa samples of materials, the contractor shall furnish for approval samples as specified or required. The work shall be in accordance with approved samples. Unless otherwise specified, samples shall be submitted of adequate size to show quality, type, color, range, finish, and textures of materials. Each sample shall be labeled bearing the material's name and quality, the constructor's name, date, project name, and other pertinent data. Where the specification required, the manufacturer's printed installation directions. Such directions shall accompany the sample submitted for approval. A letter of transmittal in triplicate from the contractor requesting approval shall accompany all sets of samples. So materials requiring prior approval of the owner shall not be ordered until such approval in writing is given by the owner. All materials shall be furnished substantially equal in every aspect of the approved sample. So sa sample of materials daw kailangan na ay types, kunwari sa mga pipes, bakal, cements, ano pa mga ano ng mga building, bakal, or other materials that needed in construction are kailangan na ay samples, mga ang ano niya na ay labeled as ang mga types niya, colors, tama ba? Colors, qualities, mga textures of materials, then sa sample of materials dapat na ang materials name, the contractor's name, and project name, and other pertinent data. Next is trade name, materials, and substitutes. Whenever an item or class of materials is specified exclusively by trade name, by manufacturer's name, or by catalog reference, only such item shall be used except as provided in paragraph. No substitution shall be made of any materials, article, or process required under the contract unless the substitution is approved in writing by the owner. The contractor shall be responsible for materials and articles installed or used without such approval. Samples of materials for use in reinforced concrete works such as steel, bars, cements, and aggregates, and the certificates of origin shall be approved by the owner. So sa trade name, materials, and substitutes, kailangan gyapon nimo siya og approval of the owner bago nimo siya magamit. So dili gyapon siya kagamit sa mga materials na imong naabot na mga materials kung wala gyapon approved from the owner. Testing samples of materials. The contractor shall submit to the owner as many samples as may be needed for purposes of testing. Testing of all samples shall comply with the specification and government standards and shall be performed by a competent entity or testing laboratory approved by the owner. All costs of shipment, delivery, handling, and testing of contractor supplied samples are to be paid by the contractor. Next is quality of materials. Unless otherwise specified, all materials shall be new and their quality shall be at the best grade of their respective kinds, taking into account the nature of the project and requirements of the contract. So, quality of materials, kailangan maging quality of materials kay kunwari kung dili mao ang mga quality of materials sa imong gamiton, so ikaw lamang gyapon as a contractor, ikaw lamang gyapon ang naay responsibility ana kung naay any damages or mga mahitabo sa mga workers. Next is storage and stockpiling of materials. The owner shall provide the contractor at near the project site. Near the project site, sufficient space for the contractor and subcontractors used for storage of their materials and for erection of their sheds and tools houses. All cements, lime, and other materials affected by moisture shall be stored on platforms and protected from the weather. The materials shall be stored as to ensure the preservation of their quality and fitness for the work. Stored materials shall be located so as to facilitate prompt inspection. Should it be necessary at any time to move materials, sheds, or storage platforms, the contractor shall do so at his own expense. So, storage and stockpiling of materials, naman kita yung mga materials na kunwari cements na dapat dili mabasa, mga bakal na dapat dili makalawang, mga nails, mga isa pa ang mga nang dapat maghimo og temporary shed for the materials na dili sila ma-affected sa weather. Next is defective materials. All materials not conforming to the specification shall be considered defective. The contractor shall remove or replace defective materials when ordered to do so by the owner. Upon the contractor's failure to do so, the owner may remove and replace them and deduct the cost of removal and replacement from any money due or to become due to the contractor. No materials, the defects of which has been subsequently corrected shall be used until the owner's approval is given. Should the specification, drawing, special provision, and supplementary specification fail to provide any detail of description concerning the nature of quality of the work to be performed, it should be understood that generally accepted construction practice shall be followed. So, if naada yung mga defective materials, dili na dapat hawaon or kwaon or palitan, kumbaga, kay naaman na ninyo kung pila na tong inyong na palit na ay sa request of writing ba, then if you're going to remove or replace the materials, defective materials, kailangan nimo og approval again from the owner. If ang owner dili mag-approve na hawaon or palitan ang materials, dili nimo siya palitan or hawaon. Next is imported materials, fixtures, and equipment. The contractor, taking into consideration the completion time, shall make timely arrangement for the purchase and delivery of all specified imported materials, fixtures, and appliances and equipment in order to avoid delay in the completion of the work. No extension of time shall be allowed if due to negligence or inadvertence of the contractor such imported items arrive late. So, sa mga gina-import na mga materials, dapat ang contractor daw is permanently gina-follow up ang mga materials so that ang mga materials dili ma-delay niya magamit siya on time if needed. Next is owner's approval. Unless specified to the contrary or unless the constructor's submission is deficient, equipment, samples, or material submission shall be acted upon by the owners within 7 working days of submission by the contractor. Next, Art 11. Materials, equipment, fixtures, appliances, and fitting furnished by the owner. Materials, equipment, fixtures, appliances, and fittings specifically indicated in the contract shall be provided in accordance with the owner-approved construction schedule. Materials furnished by the owner shall be deemed acceptable for the purpose intended. The contractor may continue to use them until otherwise directed in writing by the owner. No further test shall be required unless the owner directs otherwise and pays the cost of such test. Shall be responsible for materials loss of damage. So, there is sa mga materials, equipment sa fixtures, kung giingon ako gaina na if any damages or mga delays na mga materials na nag-arrive, responsibility to sa contractor. Then royalties and patents. The contractor shall pay all royalties and license fees on all patent materials and processes furnished by him. He shall defend all suits and claims corresponding thereto for infringement of any patent rights and shall save the owners harmless from loss on account therefore. Manufacturer's directions. All manufactured articles, materials, equipment, appliances, fixtures, and fittings supplied by the contractor shall be applied, installed, connected, erected, used, cleaned, and conditioned by him, in accordance with manufacturer's printed directions. Where reference is made to the manufacturer's direction, the contractor shall submit the specified number of copies of such directions to the owner. So, Section 4. Premises and temporary structures. Use of premises. Premises refers to a building together with the land on which it is situated and any outbuildings. So, limitation of use. The contractor shall confine his apparatus, the storage of materials, and the operation of his workmen to limits indicated by law or direction of the owner shall not unreasonably encumber the work premises with his materials. Safeguard for structure. The contractor shall not load or permit any part of the structure to be loaded with a weight that will endanger its safety. The contractor shall enforce the owner's safety instruction regarding signs, advertisements, fires, and smoking. So, for the safety of the constructor daw, dili daw magpataka-taka og permit, mag-allow og mga unsa man ang mga maka-damage sa structure kay kung naay mga damages or anything may happen sa construction, the contractor, it will be the contractor's responsibility and the owners will not, nang wala siya dapat dili mag-ano ang owners ato kay sala man sa contractor. Art 15. Temporary structures and facilities. Temporary office and contractor's building. The contractor shall, taking into account the location and size of the site at all times, provide and maintain an adequate weather-tight temporary office with necessary basic facilities such as water, light, and telephone. When practicable or depending upon the nature and complexity of the project, the owner may require the contractor to comply with other requirements for temporary structures and facilities as provided for the contractor. So, for temporary office and contract in building, para kung naamay mga naamay mga maano ang mga workmen sa contractor, dali lang siya ma-approach and dali lang siya sultian kung unsa man ang mga na mga problems na or kailangan sa construction site. Next is temporary housing for workers. The temporary building for housing men or the erection of tents or other forms of protection will be permitted only at such places as the owner shall designate, provided, however, that if no particular area is designated, the contractor may use his own discretion in determining such areas in consultation with the owner. The sanitary condition of the grounds in or about such structures of the project site shall at all times be maintained in a manner satisfactory to the owner. Nobody shall be allowed to sleep or cook within the building line of the project under construction. So, para sa mga workers din temporary housing, gaya gud ana nang sa mga nang nagahimo og dalan, di ba? Naan lang na sila sa gilid, nagahimo og balay nila para in case of in case of ano god nang malas na pod sila og sa expenses nila, less sa expenses, then magtrabaho sila kay dali na lang ba na lang sa ilang tungod ang ilang himuonon niya, dali lang sila pangitaon sa contractor kung naamay kinahanglan ang contractor sa ilaha. Next is safety and sanitation. The contractor shall, from the commencement of the work until its completion, furnish and put all the temporary barricades and guard lights necessary for the protection, proper prosecution, and completion of the work. Maintain guard lights at the top of the false work tower, barricades, railing, and etc. Provide and maintain ample sanitary toilet accommodation and other necessary conveniences, including water connection for the use of personnel and laborers on the work, properly secluded from public observation in such manner, and at such point as shall be approved by the owner, and their use shall be strictly enforced. Keep such places clean and free from flies, and remove all connection and appliances connected therewith prior to the completion of the work. Temporary signs. No signs or advertisements will be allowed to be displayed without the owner's approval. The contractor may erect one painted sign giving the names and address of the owner, the contractor, and the various subcontractors. The owner shall approve the size, color, lettering, and location of such temporary signs. So, sa temporary signs daw, if not approved by the owner, wala sila ay mabutang na signs or advertisement na mag-display na kare na building is gina-construct. Pero kung maaprubahan siya sa owner, ang owner, pag ma-aprubahan siya sa owner, dapat aprubahan ang mga temporary signs. Meron dapat size, tama ba? Color, lettering, and location of the owner. Temporary or trial usage. Temporary or trial usage by the owner of any mechanical device, machinery, apparatus, equipment, or any work or material supplied by the contractor before final completion and written acceptance by the owner shall not be construed as evidence that the owner has accepted it. Such test run shall be made by the owners for such reasonable length of time as the owner shall deem necessary. The owner shall not be liable for injury to or breaking of any parts of such work which may be caused by weakness or inaccuracy of structural parts or by defective materials or workmanship. The contractor may, at his own expense, make such trial usage with prior notice to and for the benefit of the owner. Section 5. Protection of work and property. Protection and work and owner's property. Art 16. Safeguard measures. The contractor shall take all reasonable measure to protect from damage the works, the owner's property, and the equipment, materials, appliances, and fixtures supplied or paid by the owner, and shall make good any damages, injury, or loss thereto, except such as may be caused by agents or employees of the owner or due to causes considered act of God. Safeguard measures provide reliable and competent watchmen to guard the site and premises. Provide all doorways with locks under his control and lock such doors at the close of each day's works. Provided, however, that if the owner deemed the security service inadequate or incompetent, the contractor shall increase or change the security personnel. Prohibit smoking at the site, and signs to this effect shall be posted conspicuously. Prohibit fires built on the site except by the express consent of the owner, and provide and maintain in good working order and adequate number of firefighting equipment, and such equipment shall be not be used for any other purposes. So safeguard measures, dapat all material shall be guarded kay basin na ay magkuha na ay magkuha sa mga materials na walay pananghid, then ang contractor man gyapon ang responsible ana. So magdagdag na pud og expenses sa expenses. Dapat tapos ang mga smoking sites, labi na ng mga kung maghimo mo og na may mga laborers na naga-sigarilyo. Okay lang mag-sigarilyo basta layo sa gina-construct ninyo, kay base na yung mga like fire alarms mag-activate siya. So na ay mga precautions na dapat ginahimo na dapat maglayo ka sa inyong ginahimo na construction. Old materials. All old materials of value as determined through a joint inventory by the owner and the contractor found at the worksite shall be carefully stored at the place designated by the owner, and the contractor shall be responsible for the safekeeping until final acceptance of the work. So sa mga old materials daw na base na wala na nagamit or di na kailangan kay humana ang pag-construct sa building, dili dapat siya kwaon or i-disregard kay naman na siya sa inventory sa owner. Tapos o basin pangitaon sa owner kung asan na ang mga materials na wala nagamit. Ito siya. Next is trees and other plants. Existing trees, plants, shrubs, or etc. which are to remain at the site shall be boxed and otherwise protected from damage. No trees within the site located outside building line shall be cut or removed without a specific approval from the owner. So maumay gyapon ni giingon ako gaina na kailangan gyapon ng approval sa owner. Kunwari sa isa ka lote ari lang iyahang specified lang niya na kari lang ang iyahang pahimuan og building, then the rest na mga puno kay dili niya paputol. So katong gihatag lang niya na giano sa owner, dito lang mo mag-cut og mga trees and other plants and mga other plants. Trees and other plants. When specifically included in the contractor's scope of work, all trees and other plants that need to be transplanted elsewhere shall be done by the contractor in accordance with instruction of the owner. Mo to tong ano ko gaina. Then damage of trees, plants, shrubs, trees and sidewalk or etc. resulting from fault or negligence of the contractor in connection with the execution of the work shall be made good and or replaced or repaired by the contractor at his own expense. So, kung mamali daw gyapon di ay ka, kung wala ka nang sunod sa gihatag sa imo na rule or instruction sa owner, ikaw lang gyapon as a contractor, imo lang gyapon tong responsibility. So, ikaw lang man gyapon magbayad ato, ikaw gyapon mag ano sa mga expenses. So, dapat follow the instruction, follow gyud nimo ang instruction sa owner para makalas ka og mga expenses na dili dapat hatagan og ano nang dili importante. Next is drainage. It should be necessary in the prosecution of the work to interrupt or obstruct the natural flow of rivers or streams. The drainage of the surface or the flow of artificial drains. The contractor shall do so in such a way that no damage shall result to either public or private interest for his neglect to provide other means of drainage for any existing natural or artificial drainage which he may have obstructed and interrupted. The contractor shall be liable for all damages which may result therefrom. Protection of adjacent property and existing utilities. Art 17. Contractor's responsibility. The contractor shall adequately protect adjacent property as provided by the law and the contract. Any neighboring property or building which may be jeopardized in any manner must be truly and substantially protected against damage during construction at the constructor's expense. So, dere, kunwari, ang naamoy sa isa ka property na ka-damage ka sa pikas property, imuha tong responsibility na dapat dili madamay ang owner. Kunwari, sige tawag example kunwari ng sa building na ang workman nimo is naa siya na kadamage siya dito sa pikas property na nakadami siya dito sa pikas property. So imo atong responsibility kay dili naman to appeal sa inyong contract sa owner na makadamage ka sa pikas. Next is the contractor shall be liable for and pay for all damages to adjacent on existing utilities occasioned in any manner by his act or neglect or by that of his agent, employees, or workmen. So, ni gay na kung giingon sa mga kung naaman siya damages na mabuhat or damages sa under sa iyahan na mga kunyari yung mga workmen, yung mga laborers na nakadamage, siya lang gyapon ang naay responsibility ana. So, siya gyapon ang magbayad, siya gyapon ang mangitagpagi paano niya ni i-resolve using his own expenses or kung unsa man iyang idea to resolve this na makalas siya og ano Condition survey. Prior to commencement of the works, the contractor shall, insofar as is legally and physically possible, survey and ascertain the conditions of any existing adjacent properties or buildings and record the result therefore through photographic record or by any other means. So sa condition survey, dapat every na ay ginahimo ang imong mga labormen or mga worksmen nimo, dapat permanente ka na kay ano yan record kay para kunwari kung mangita ang owner na unsa na ang nahimo sa mga tao nimo sa akong gipa build na ay ginapa construct sa imo na building, so na kay may pakita sa constructor kung asa na mo dapit na human, asa na mo nag-stop, asa na mo dapit na pila na lang kaadla ay pila na lang usa na lang ang kailangan ani or ana mga kaya kailangan nimo og mga records and i-survey gyud nimo everyday possibly kay para kung nagatrabaho ba ang mga worksmen nimo everyday or wala. Next is protection of life, work, and property during an emergency. Art 18. So, authorization to contractor. In an emergency, endangered life, the work, or the adjoining property, the contractor, even without special instruction or authorization from the owner, shall act at his discretion to prevent or minimize a stated loss or injury. Emergency work performed by the contractor shall be treated as one performed under a change in order unless the emergency was caused or brought about by his fault or negligence. So, if ang example if nang kanang imong mga worksmen or laborman nimo is na-injured, so dili naman siguro na kailangan og approval sa imuha sa owner na magtawag pa ka na, hello sir, ang akong tao sir, kailangan ako mag-ano na, so dapat i-actionan dahil to nimo kay para unsa man to yang injury malesen ang iyahang malesen tong damage na cause sa na cause ba or basta nang sa injury ng mag ano ba na sa injury niya, dapat i-actionan dahil nimo na siya, dili nimo na siya pasagdan. Alangan pasagdan nimo niya maghulat pa ka og approval sa owner. So maol lang to sir, thank you for listening and sorry for the mga ano nako sa pagstorya. Thank you and be safe always everyone. Thank you again.